In your opinion, what's better, Forex trading or Betfair? I'm looking at getting into both of them, but wanted to know what you think. If I learn one, will it help me win on the other? Have you tried Forex? From Chris. So in this week's YouTube upload, I'm going to answer this question for the Q&A. If you've got one, don't forget to submit it in the comments. And also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for future content. I've got a lot to say on this one, and I have looked at Forex in the past. So straight out the gates, from the outset, what is best? I don't like to say one's better than the other, they're just totally different. So to take the bull by the horns, the first issue is always liquidity with every exchange. So in comparison, on one hand you've got Forex. A quick Google shows that 6.6 trillion is traded in the Forex markets per day, whereas on Betfair, you've got horse races that trade 200 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand on a daily basis, and you've got some football matches that might trade a few million. There is a massive difference in liquidity there. So when it comes to scaling and increasing your profits overall, should you be successful, it's clear you can make a huge amount more money on Forex than you can from Betfair Trading. Now, that might not have been the answer that people thought I'd come up with first, but I try to be as honest as I can, as independent as I can. Even though I've been trading Betfair for 10 years myself, I'm not that particularly biased when answering these questions. So Forex is far more scalable, Betfair is far smaller, but on the flip side, in terms of analyses, for example, on Forex, it's a lot more complicated. You've got lots of things to bear in mind, lots of changes. It's global. You've got political factors that are going to change the prices. You've got economic factors that are going to change the prices. And it gets very complicated very quickly, and it's very large. There's a lot to analyse there. In comparison to Betfair Trading, far smaller niche, in fact a niche within a niche, there is still plenty of things going on. It's not the easiest thing in the world to trade, but you've got, say, 5 horses running around the field for over 3 miles in a certain race type with a handful of different jockeys, trainers, and people that have got motivations for placing a gamble. It's very different, it's very smaller, it's probably a lot easier to crack in my opinion, but I would say that I haven't done it for 10 years. Same goes for football, you've got 2 teams, handful of players, there's far less variables than there is with Forex. So one's probably easier, the other one's far more scalable. In terms of cost, there's a big difference too. So when it comes to Forex, there's lots of different ways that cost is factored into Forex trading. You've got the spreads, you've got commissions, all that kind of stuff. If we stick to Betfair, for example, because some of the exchanges are a little bit different, then you only pay commission on your overall winnings. So you're not paying commission on the open of a trade, the close of a trade, even if you lost, which might be completely different when compared to Forex. On top of that, Betfair Trading is not taxable, and in fact, before I move on there, I should probably mention the premium charge. Everybody's biggest gripe. If you become successful, we'll put a link in the description down below for the criteria, but there's a handful of criteria where you pay additional charges, such as 5 grand profit, 250 markets successfully traded, and a handful of other criteria there too. When it comes to Forex though, on the other side, it is taxable. If you are profitable, classified as an investor, over the period of 12 months, you do have to pay capital gains tax on your profits. But like I said, the difference is it's far more scalable. You can make a huge amount more in comparison. So that's the cost side of things covered. What is better? Well, it depends what you want at the end of the day. That's the overall decision that I came to many moons ago when I looked at Forex. I tried some Forex trading software. I had a little go, but ultimately I found Betfair is a lot simpler, a lot easier, but yes, it is smaller, and that's why I opted there. Now, the second part of your question was probably the bit that I had the strongest opinion on, and that's because I've spent a lot of time thinking about this and developing my own trading strategies over the years, and that is getting involved in both of them at the same time, and I would strongly advise you against doing that. Not because I don't like one or the other, because you need to focus to succeed in becoming a trader. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It can be quite testing at the best of times. So to be jumping ship from one to the other, kind of doing it half pregnant, half-arsing it, however you want to phrase it, is the worst thing that you can do. You don't want to detract your attention away from the markets that you're focusing on, learning on, developing in, and becoming confused between the two, which I think is something that happens quite a lot between financial trading and Betfair trading. People take these terms, buzzwords from different places, carry them over and assume that they are the same. Now they're not. So focus intently on one or the other, whatever you should choose to do. I certainly couldn't do both. Very early on, I had a little dabble. I tried, and I was involved in Betfair, and that was the wrong thing to do. So I wouldn't advise you doing that at all. I would advise that you specialise on one particular area, strip away everything else. For example, if we're talking Betfair trading, go into horse racing, pick a particular race type, maybe handicaps. They sort of account for 50% of all horse racing. Focus on handicaps, how they operate, the characteristics that control that environment, that marketplace, and work out from there. Once you understand those things, you can change it over, carry it over to other sports. But what I wouldn't advise doing is trying to trade, tennis and football and horse racing all at the same time, learning them all at the same time, different race types, and then throw, Forex in there too, which is something wildly different. So specialise on what you're most interested in, focus on it because you've got to enjoy it too, and work out from there. So to quickly finish up with the third part of your question there, does trading one of them successfully help you with the other? And I would say the answer is yes and no. So in terms of psychology and your own personal trading behaviour, how you react in the marketplace, they are comparable. They will be very similar. If you can't control your fingers clicking the mouse on Betfair, then it's unlikely you will on Forex. And so you can learn a lot about yourself, psychologically, with your trading and stuff like that. Also, there can be some market motivations which will carry over directly from one to the other. They probably won't look exactly the same, but for example, fear, panic, areas of exploitation, they won't be the same areas of exploitation, but you could apply that method or that way of thinking to both aspects of trading. But otherwise, that takes me on to the no really, which is they're completely different marketplaces. One's a globally traded set of Forex markets. The other one is a small sporting exchange on sporting events that come to a close soon, whereas that is not the case over on Forex. So, ultimately, I don't know how somebody would want to go from Forex trading into Betfair trading, but I do know how somebody would want to go from Betfair trading into Forex trading. Obviously, it's a lot more scalable, it's a lot trickier, but there's a lot more on offer overall. Why you would make that backward step in the alternate direction, I don't really understand.